There's been a lot of interesting new terms introduced
Mhm.
into the business and office lexicon: coffee badging, return to office, interesting things like that. For a state of how things look right now, we head to Joel Patterson, who is a workplace expert. He joins us on 710 KURV. So we've come a long way from the Rona and pandemic style working, and there's been kind of a change in the workforce and their attitude towards things. And what kind of changes do you recognize, and what do you think are the causes of them?
Good afternoon. But I mean, there's just a whole shift in the workplace these days. There's nothing like what it was before COVID, and I think the people have recognized that, right? I'm not saying anything that's all that groundbreaking, but there continues to be differences between people that started working before COVID and those that started working after. And I think that's what we're talking about a lot today. And the push to, what a lot of people will say, do as little work as possible. I'm not saying that's exactly what's going on, but I think there's just a different perspective on what work means for people that are going to the workplace now versus what it did when, for example, when I did. I'm 51 years old, and so when I started my career, it was a much different. You had to roll up your sleeves, you had to grin and bear it, you had to work as hard as you possibly could. And these days, it's more about how can I live or work to live and not live to work, and do as little as possible in my career in order to be able to survive, do the things that I want to do, and really focus on having a great life and not worrying about what my career ultimately means. And you can argue that all you want, but there's pluses and minuses of that perspective, but it's the prevalent thing that's out there today, and employers need to keep an eye on it.
No, I fully agree with you. I've said for a long time that there's 24 hours in a day. You spend 8 of them working. You're supposed to spend 8 of them asleep, which means the next 8 hours is put into commute time and everything that needs to get done around the house and family time. And like if you have kids and you have to go out and, little Jimmy's baseball game and things like that. And it's difficult to fit everything into 24 hours at a time. So, yeah, I fully sympathize with people that are like, there's not enough hours in the day. So,
I got another.
Davis?
No, sorry, go ahead.
Thank you, Davis. So what is a good work-life balance, or what have people been, or I should say, is there a conclusion to be drawn to the work-life balance? What have people been saying?
I think what people really need to get their head around is that there's no such thing. I mean, there's a work-life. I understand the concept, but there's no way that you're going to be able to take what you do during the day and completely separate it from what happens to you in the evening. I think recognizing that it is a bit of a blend, but understanding that you really want to have more value out of your evening time potentially than you do your daytime, and being able to exert your energy that way. I think people, what they really hope for is that they can find purpose and meaning in what they do during the day. So employers can take advantage of this by recognizing that, hey, if I can offer diverse experiences to people, I can demonstrate how they will continuously learn, give them flexibility in how they work. Obviously, the remote work or hybrid work is a big leverage point these days. I mean, if I can offer that to them, then I can bring in a lot of really good people. The flip side is, if I don't do a good job of showing how we are different, how we are able to communicate with that generation and really empower them, you're going to get a lot of people that are going to perpetuate the stereotype. You're going to get people that don't really care about showing up during the day, or aren't prepared for the day. And that's no different than previous generations either. I'm not really saying that it is any different, but it's more, I think, pronounced, and we talk about it a lot more these days, in making sure that we're doing the things that we need to do to really motivate the Gen Zs that are entering the workforce these days.
Joel Patterson is a workplace expert, joelpatterson.com. He joins us now on your 956 Drive Home. So let's get to some of the new lingo around the workplace. Coffee badging, and a little bit on the return to office debate here. So what is coffee badging?
Coffee badging is it's a silly term, but it's really people that are doing, again, the minimum. So they go into the office, they swipe their badge, they grab a coffee, they stay there long enough to be able to say that they were there, and they leave. That's just
Sounds
people,
good to me.
I mean, people, yeah, right. People have been doing that for generations. The one thing that it's funny in one hand, but it's also really frustrating, is this bare minimum Monday. This trend of people doing as little as possible on Monday, and this is what drives me crazy and I know it drives other people crazy too when they hear people saying this or putting this in print. And I don't know if people are really thinking this, but they're saying that by lowering their expectations on Sunday evening about what's going to happen or what they're going to contribute on Monday, it makes Sunday evening less stressful. And so that's the way that they're going to go through the day or through the weekend, is making sure that they set as little expectations as they possibly can for Monday so that they don't have to worry about it. I don't know if that's the best way to really embrace your career and recognize that you might get some satisfaction out of it, but it is something that's getting a little press and, maybe worth discussing.
What's the latest on the return to office debate? I hear a lot of big companies are asking everybody to come back. There's a little bit of a tug of war, but what employers aren't, or at least let me put this from what I've seen in comments online from people that are being asked to return, they see it as this is like an ego trip for management. They see it as, I just want you here just so I can see you, and that's about it. There's the productivity level, there's not an argument there. It's just, I just want you in the office. And some people are saying that this is to justify like rent costs and things like that. What have you seen?
I mean, I think it's a mix. I think you're oversimplifying if people think that managers just want to be able to see you. There's real benefit to people being in the same room. I mean, the dynamic that's created in a meeting. We've all been in meetings where they were horrible and nobody was communicating and all you wanted to do was get out of there. But we've also been in meetings where you had 5 or 6 people and you're brainstorming on something and there's an energy that is created and the ideas bounce back and forth, and all of a sudden you come out of there with an idea or a plan. And those are the things that companies are trying to embrace and remind people that's real stuff. And in a lot of ways, that's how business gets done, by bringing new conversations, new ideas to the table. And it's really difficult to get that over a video call. You know how awkward it is if you're interrupting each other, you just can't quite get that dynamic, not to mention the fact that you don't really understand how that person is coming into the meeting from just how are they feeling today? What is their emotional level at that point? You don't get a sense for whether or not they've had a rough day, and that's going to impact those meetings as well. So I think that getting people in the office for a purpose, for a reason, it's not good enough to just tell people that they need to come in because I said so. Nobody wants to respond to that. But when you create real situations that's applicable to people, that they can understand that, yeah, I've been in that situation and I know that there's value there. When you can demonstrate that and communicate that, that's what they're really basing those hybrid situations or whatever it becomes. But the problem is, a lot of really big companies, they're the ones that get the attention. Apple, Amazon, Meta, whoever. And when they put out that they want people to come in and then they get pushback, all of a sudden it becomes this big news event. I think most organizations, especially small to medium-sized businesses, they just want their people around because they know they work better that way, not because they're trying to be a bully or to just because they said so. It just makes the job a little simpler.
Joining us on 710 KURV, Joel Patterson, workplace expert. Davis, you had a question very quickly.
One could say that the generation you're talking about has a sense of entitlement. What do you think about that?
I think it's really easy to see that. I'm not saying that that's the case. I think the stereotypes exist for a reason, right? And I've interviewed plenty of people, and I've seen plenty of people in our business and other friends' businesses that are that kind of represent that entitled sort of perspective, and they seem like, hey, just give me everything I want. I don't really want to have to hurt, and I don't want to have to experience any pain for it or growth. And I think it is a bit of a stereotype. I think that there are a lot of really good, I don't want to call them kids, even though they are in my brain, that I work with on a day-to-day basis. I mean, and they're driven. They got great ideas. They're interested in doing something new and unique. I just think that the ones that are maybe a little more entitled, more vocal than they used to be. I find that people in that generation, Gen Z these days, they'll ask for just about anything. I mean, things that I would never have asked for when I was coming out of college, and about a job or salary or time off, and I think that people are a little put off by that, and so all of a sudden that creates a situation where you're thinking, man, this whole generation, they're just kind of out of left field. They don't really know what they're even asking for. Some of it's true, some of it's not. But I think if you look at each person individually, there are some really good catches out there that can benefit your overall culture. It can benefit your business. It's just you just got to work for it a little bit.
Yeah, I know. I wish we had more time to expand on some of the other things that I've been reading about. For example, there were stories of some businesses that were allowing their employees to take a pay cut and work from home, and then a few months later they wanted them to show up at the office and they weren't going to increase their pay. Things like that. But that's just
terrible, right? I mean, that doesn't make
Yeah.
any sense. Why would they do that? Yeah, it might be true. I mean, the sad thing is, I feel like business in general has got this perception of being bad in the media today, and it's always the man holding you down, or however you want to describe it. And what I find in most businesses is that, and I'm talking small to medium businesses, people really care about their employees. They want to support them. They want them to grow. They want them to feel satisfied and productive and engaged. But it doesn't get a lot of the news. And unfortunately, there are some horror stories to talk about as well.
Thanks a lot, Joel, for your time here today. Joel Patterson, workplace expert at The Vested, joelpatterson.com, joelpatterson.com.